I still, you've been called out. I'll show her later.
All right, so let's dive into some other details for 2020 to kind of give an overview on our calendar sketch. Basically, we want to increase the number of events that we're hosting by at least 5. Last year we hosted 14 total. This year we want to host 19.
Wow.
So we want to have 6 jams instead of 5. We want to have 6 reserve jams instead of 5. 2 parades. We're aiming to have 2 different fundraisers in the spring and the winter. And we want to have at least 3 different workshops monthly, either in the winter, and we might try to explore having one in April if the opportunity allows. So we're going to ask established guest groups like Circus Team, Elements Ballet to return. And if we don't get enough pre-jams entertainment signups from other volunteer organizations, we want to provide sign-up opportunities for pre-jam entertainment for other organizations or other groups that want to be featured. We want, again, like I said, all organizers to take the Guardian training. We want to create an email list. We want to publish our operations manual so that we have complete transparency on the entirety of the operation and give other people in other cities the insight that they need in order to establish their own full moon jams with the same kind of structure that we've established. We want to give them basically the tools they need to avoid the pitfalls that we've jumped over. Again, we want to increase our board transparency and create a better opportunity for community engagement. We want to expand our fundraising opportunities and have more events outside of our schedule. We, like I said, want to explore having winter flow jams. So we're trying to figure out organizations that we can partner with as well. Love to, this is space. We can do things in this space potentially. So how can we explore using this space or other spaces throughout the city? What other nonprofit organizations can we partner with? What other ways can we have civic engagement and have beneficial community impact? One of the things that I'd like to do in July is have a Leave No Trace focus for that event, because it's going to be shortly after 4th of July, and I'm sure the parks are going to be nasty and gross and destroyed. So as part of our Leave It Better policy, we want to try to encourage audience participation in leaving it better, and again, encourage that concept and to be a norm everywhere you go, not just in the gyms. So with those kind of concepts in mind, we want to go into a quick brainstorming session about what we can do next year. Some concepts that we've already kind of discussed and are exploring are expanding into new parks across the city. We'd love to go into the south side, maybe Promontory Point, something like that. We want to explore maybe doing another downtown event. Maggie Park has been an option. We've done things there. The Cloud Gate was an option. Maybe we can do it on the Great Lawn. So now that we've fostered that relationship with them, maybe there's more opportunities to do things there. We want to explore, again, more fundraising ideas. Lagunitas didn't happen this past season, but we want to maintain that opportunity. We're planning for something in November, so we have more than enough time to basically plan for an event there. Basically, beer for 3 hours, catered food, a bunch of different games, activities, flow jam, just a fun gathering, and then an after jam somewhere else as well, similar to what we did with Leap. Fireball Gala was expressed as another possible event, a masquerade event somewhere that might provide for a fire performance opportunity. We want to expand our educational offerings as well.
There's also one more event that's not on this one. We have a pretty good opportunity for the city of Elgin. It's called Nightmare on Chicago Street. Val and I did a performance there over this last Halloween, and we were lucky enough to get pretty connected with the producer for that event. And I have a meeting with them on Thursday, and we'll know if we have the opportunity for a full stage right on Svengooly's B-movie Boulevard. Fire Theater has a potential of doing 3 to 4 one-hour sets. So, pretty big opportunity. Things are still in the works for that, but stay tuned.
Again, with the educational offerings, we want to really make a big focus on that, since I think that is kind of a pivotal way for us to make connections with new communities and show the value that the flow arts provide. There's been a lot of research published by people showing that the flow arts are just as beneficial to your physical and mental health as regular yoga and meditative practices. It's shown that people with debilitations, recovering from a variety of different disabilities, or Alzheimer's, or other impairments, that flow arts can be beneficial for.
Flow therapy.
Yeah, it's therapy. So we also, on that regard, want to explore getting grants to basically have an inventory of flow toys that we can provide at these events, because one of the things that we noticed with the Lunar Eclipse Arts Festival fundraiser we hosted last year was we had a lot of people interested in partaking in classes but didn't have the equipment to do so. So what we want to do is try to find funding to basically acquire at least half a dozen of every single prop that exists and have that available at every single fundraiser, every single flow jam, every single event, so that basically it's more accessible. Anyone can pick up different props, and that ties into the idea of possibly sponsoring or gaining sponsorship from notable flow toy vendors, so that we can showcase different types of props, the different options that they have, and people can have a direct, immediate sense of what those weights and sizes and feels and differences of the different props are, so that they can really understand more what's good for them, what's appropriate for their size, what's appropriate for their weight preferences.
We've all got too short a poi or too long staff, right?
So if we have those available for people to practice and experience and experiment with, then it not only makes it, again, more accessible for people to start, but also might create an opportunity for us to feature local small businesses, as well as a sustainable model by, if we have a 20% or whatever discount code potentially that might help give some kickback if we partner with these vendors. So it's an idea we're exploring. Obviously we have to reach out to the vendors, see who's interested, but if we can get a grant, buy a bunch of props from all the vendors, and then start that conversation and really explain that the full moon jams are a huge possibility for them to have exposure, that there might be an opportunity for us to kind of create a sustainable model for funding the jams. Other ideas include some full moon jam merchandise. Everyone has thrown in a bunch of different ideas, from bandanas, patches, stickers, pins, magnets, shirts, pants, hoodies, mugs, keychains, tote bags, calendar, prop bags, pop sockets. There's a lot of different things. The things on the back of your phone. There pops it out. So, fun fact, they have a nonprofit program that apparently you can submit a design, and they will give you 50% of all the proceeds sold for that design. So it's kind of a cool idea. We basically would just take the sticker, pop it on a pop, and then boom, we sell those. I buy one. Why not? That'd be awesome. So we want to.
And kind of one thing just to mention is that philosophically, we don't ever want to monetize or merchandise. We don't want to feel like we're selling things to people. A lot of this is more so for the ability, more so just for the community to help us and for them to get a small token of our appreciation, other than us being the punk rock band that needs to get to the next city with gas money. Kind of that same idea.
I was thinking more PBS, but sure, let's go punk rock.
Sure.
Way to go.
Yeah. whatever sells it.
So along those lines, Ryan, though, because this subject it comes up every year. How are we going to make money? How are we going to get money to continue supporting ourselves? And one thing that's always been squashed is any way to collect funds, whether it be through selling or donations at the Full Moon Jam. And there are a lot of people in the camp that want to keep it that way, and then there are people in the camp, I being one of them, that would like a way for people to give donations during the Full Moon Jam when we have 2,000 people surrounding us. And I just want to know if that's even on the table right now.
Something Devin and I talked about a little bit, we've all kind of talked about in the board meetings too, is PayPal feels like it's kind of like not...
Obtrusive.
Yeah, it's not as accessible as something like Venmo or Zelle. So potentially establishing a Full Moon Jam Venmo or a Full Moon Jam Zelle that like if someone you're talking to at, basically the idea that it might not be publicized like a banner at the beginning of the event. But if someone were to come up to you and talk to you at the jam and be like, I really love this, that you could have the opportunity to be like, hey, awesome, if you love it, our Venmo is this handle. Please donate, help continue supporting the community.
So we don't want a thermometer rising with the next fundraising
Yeah,
goal
no.
on a big billboard somewhere.
It's having this cash on premises, any kind of cash donation, then you have to have someone in charge of
charge
that.
of it,
Then it's
yeah.
potential of someone robbing someone, it's like, it's better just to like leave it all electronic directly donated and not have anything.
Yeah.
I'm more with the idea of like, I don't want to promote it. You know,
Yeah.
we shouldn't be there promoting this because we're there for the jam. You know, we're there to spin fire, we're there to have entertainment. We don't want to bring that sale aspect to it of pimping it.
If
But,
someone, yeah, says,
but,
hey, I
but
wanna
if someone
support
comes up
you.
and asks, then by all means we should have a venue for them to be able to do it. But we shouldn't be initiating that conversation. If they happen to mention it to us and ask us, great, we now have a solution.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't be saying, oh, hey, you want to donate?
The one
Yeah.
problem
What about
with
just
that
a
approach
bucket?
is that most people will not
Stick.
think about,
No.
The digital, there's an immediate, traceable. They get the immediate. They get the sense that they can they can tax write off, and then it's a big thing that we don't want people randomly carrying cash after a jam. If we raise several $100s, that person might be targeted by somebody who saw that person gathered $500.
If you can't-
So that it creates a liability if that person forgets to deposit that money. There's a lot of logistics that fundamentally always circle back to we want to keep the jams monetary free. We want to decommodify the jams themselves. What we do outside of it, in terms of finding sponsorships, in terms of encouraging donations and support, absolutely. There's a lot of avenues we can explore. But so far, this historical decision has been keep the jams cash free.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a great idea, it's a great concept, but no one's really kind of come forth with the concept that really addresses all the concerns of accountability, tracing the funds, the tax donation concept.
I think the biggest key that you touch base is the decommodification of it is even though we are not part of the Burning Man community,
Right.
a lot of our premises are based on
Right.
that concept, and that whole idea is decommodification. We don't want to be selling because we don't want to be
Correct.
pushing money, at the events. Outside the events, let's pimp it up.
Yeah.
Let's put links on
But I think-
websites and things like that. But at the event, we need it to be as
It's
decommodified as
about the
possible.
event, not about the money.
Right.
Like, we're putting on a show at that point.
I think one of the goals of putting together this infographic and putting together the budget to make it more accessible is so that the public does know. I don't think the general public knows when they come to this event how much money goes into it. So if we can make that information more accessible, people will understand this isn't just something we all get to do for free. There's a lot of money and time involved. A lot of hoops to jump
And
through.
someone has to pay.
So the hope, I think, is that if we can establish a clear online presence, which I know people like Ali are really helping with Twitter and Instagram, that as the community continues to grow and we funnel people to those social media platforms, they can get access to the places they can donate. So the combination of, hey, here's what it costs to do the jam, here, because I think for all of us, the end goal is we want it to be sustainable. We want everyone that's involved to feel like their time is appreciated in some capacity. And clearly we're making progress because the next jam season and a half are funded. But I hear you that there's this large group of people coming that are coming and benefiting from all of this work that we're all putting in. So you want them to know where they can reciprocate.
Which, I mean, the merchandise that you have listed on here, like business cards that have like donate here with a website link.
Yeah.
I think that would be great.
Even if
Or a
it's like
Venmo.
I've always said, even just a small sign right by
Yeah,
the
so
gate.
that's
Like
what I was
an
gonna- can we
info
put up
that-
four
that
sandwich,
just says,
four sandwich
Want to
boards?
help?
Or
Donate
sign it.
here. You
Or
know,
like they could take a card with our information, all the information, our websites, whatever, just info table.
Well, we could have sandwich boards.
Doesn't
Those
even
are
have to be manned by anybody, just put like a
the
little
things
table
that
with
go
some
up
cards.
about 3
and a
feet
sign,
and bend.
You know?
Yeah, see, I don't know. I just don't like the idea of the sandwich boards or anything like signage. I think the info table would be great because then we have an
we
info
have
table.
signage already though.
We have signage, but
Not
not signage,
not
but not
necessarily.
signage to generate money.
No, just saying
No,
info
an
table.
info table, say, want to volunteer,
Yes.
want to donate.
No,
Yeah.
now that
That's
that's
like
what
all
I'm saying.
something-
It's like,
yeah.
in the same breath, info table is great.
Yeah.
Info table is
Just
great.
be self-
Putting out sandwich boards or other signage saying, "Hey, donate here."
Well, I think
that's-
we can kind of like merge the two.
Right.
Instead of it being like a table that someone has to actually man, having that sandwich
Yeah.
board as our
Here's a
Yes.
Q&A.
info
Now
sandwich.
How do you get more engaged?
that
Having the infographic
that makes
is
sense.
kind of like here. What's up
having
with the
a
jam?
single
What is this?
space and not having it like spread throughout and having
Yeah.
several
So,
boards or
We
anything
can
like
even
that.
have like our
having
code of
one
ethics on
table.
one side as well
Yeah.
too,
Sure.
so the community knows it as well.
Yeah, one table makes absolute sense.
Just one final thought before we get on track because we've been on a huge tangent. And
We're almost
No,
you know, we
But-
like it.
but like-
this is fun.
my example of how so many people are begging to like help us out in whatever way. Someone brought a couple cheese boards one of the jams this year and I was like, what do I do with this cheese and crackers? And I'm walking around for 10 minutes with that. Like they want to help. Like the general public wants, they give us food, they want a way to give us stuff. So I just think we need to figure out a way, an easy avenue for them to help us.
Absolutely.
And so
So I think,
we'll
yeah.
figure that out.
Maybe like a email, like, hey, like, donation information, I don't even, something
Yeah,
like
no,
that.
like
Just
I said, we have the
one
email.
table, just like a table.
Let's
on
give
the
it some
table,
thought.
there's, like, places to get
We
information,
have volunteer.
volunteering information, donating, anything.
Yeah.
There's a
I like
mandate
the
to speak to
idea.
people.
Oh,
On
Yeah.
like the various platforms of having a like wanna help and including donation and volunteering and
Yeah, just
also
wanna
like,
help.
and also like these are our principles, like help us protect the way that we are asking people to behave. So even if you have someone who's never gonna give money, never gonna volunteer time formally, being like, this is a way you can help, and including that along with those
Like,
ideas.
like before they're with their kids, sort of like being like moms to everybody.
Yeah, it's like, do you wanna help? Like, you know, like keep an eye out around you.
If you see
Like
something, say something,
volunteer,
all that
donate.
I very much like that concept where any kind of donation options or anything like that are blended in with other principles, so therefore it doesn't stand out. It's not like here we're promoting, because again, it's that decommodification, it's trying not to having to, like our society does, monetize everything.
Yeah.
You know, we don't, I don't like the idea of us as a community pushing monetization, you know, but we still need to give them, as Mark points out, a way for them to donate, but let's incorporate it into other things, let's bring it in, let's make it subtle, you know, and it's there, they can see it, but it's blended in with all these other principles.
Yeah.
Therefore, it doesn't feel like we're monetizing it.
Accessibility is a big focus for 2020.
Yeah.
We want to basically update the website. We want to have all of these different medias and explanations easily accessible so people can know. If you want to support the jams, you can volunteer, you can sign up here, you know, different ways to participate made more readily available. So,
Because even just up until, I believe this year, our website was janky. I mean that's putting it kind of lightly.
It loaded.
Loaded WordPress basic.
But I think that's the whole I mean, I want to acknowledge it. Like Devin put a lot of time into this infographic. Speaking to exactly what you were talking about, that's the reason we want it. We want to make everything more accessible because I don't think the general public knows those things.
Right.
So informing them about what our principles are, why we're doing this, and how they can contribute, whether it's with their time, their support, or their money, you know, to relieve some of that every season stress of how do we fundraise. Because the reality is, if the jam continues to grow, insurance is only going to increase.
Yeah.
So that is a potential expense that is exponential. So we need to be mindful of that. So yes, we don't want to necessarily monetize the jam, but I would love to find that meeting place
Absolutely.
of how do we
Oh, yeah.
educate our community and give them the platform necessary to support us.
Ain't no such thing
Absolutely.
as a free lunch.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I agree with that. I don't want to seem like I'm saying, oh no, we can't do this and be against it. It's trying to find that median ground, and that's why I like the idea of blending it in with everything else. We
Yeah.
need it there. They need to be able to see this. We need to promote that, donations, but also we need to make sure it's not one of those glaring, in the face kind of things, because it kind of goes against the
Small-
premise of how this whole thing
You
started.
know, just like even just cross chatter between that we've had, just like more access to small business cards, you know, that people have, you know, a pocket full of 10 of them at the beginning of the day. If they meet if they meet someone new, say, hey, you know, I got to go back to my responsibilities. Here's more information that you can have. You know, it's easier than trying to fumble through
Right.
Facebook and say, oh, here's where you got to go and all of that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that would be for like, you know, the organizers, guardians,
Right.
people like yourself that have. I mean, you.
I talk to a lot of people.
You're standing right at kind of like, you know, ground zero essentially. You know, something where you can say, hey, I have to work, but here's something that you can have to take home with. And
with being engaged and, backup guardian, or guardian escalation, whatever you want to call it. I deal with a lot of people and I get a lot of questions. So yeah, info cards would be great. I think we really need to push Smile, Amazon Smile.
Right.
I saw that we have very low numbers on there. I use it all the time. Granted, we get a very small percentage per user, but it's so easy just to put in a web address of
Are
Smile.
you guys familiar with what Amazon Smile is? So Amazon Smile is a service that Amazon has put forth that a very low percentage, but it's still a percentage of all purchases that are made through Amazon are given to a non-for-profit of your choosing. We are one of those non-for-profits. I buy tech gear for my business all the time.
Every little thing that I buy through Amazon.
And it's essentially all it is you go to smile.amazon.com and set up your very simple preferences. They've made it,
Super easy.
Yeah, super easy. And for purchases that you were already going to make
Anyway.
you can support the jam. And it's, again, we're talking peanuts here. On a
Yeah, it's
$100
like fractional-
on a $100
fractional
purchase, it
percentage.
might be 4 or 5 cents. I think it's like 0.005%.
Yeah, it's
But-
a fraction of a
But
percent.
hypothetically, say it was right around Christmas time, and you were able to buy Christmas gifts for all your friends and family. Pennies add up over time.
Yeah, but it's a great avenue because again, it's us off the numbers. We get thousands of people to show up. I think if we have even half of the people that show up to the jam buying all their Amazon stuff through Smile, and
It all doesn't have to go to Mark Bezos.
Right. Yeah,
Such a nice guy.
It's numbers
So
where
generous.
a very small percentage or fraction of a percentage multiplied by thousands,
Right.
all of a sudden becomes a true funding, sustainable funding option.
And the infrastructure's already there. We didn't have to set it up. We don't have to manage it. It's just it comes in without our help.
It's
So
subtle stuff like that I'm really for, with fundraising.
I have a suggestion. I know it's getting late. Why don't we open it up to Q&A?
Yeah,
Any thoughts?
that's where we're
I
at.
thought we were.
Yeah, that's where we are.
sort
But
of.
just like officially.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so we want to give a few minutes to anyone here in the room to obviously ask any questions, but then we of course want to offer opportunities for anyone watching at home to submit a question if there's anything pressing that they want to know that they forget. Yeah, I don't know. I think you said there's more people watching.
You get on one stream.
Are you able to tell how many people are watching?
Yeah, we've got 9 people on the live stream right now, but people are kind of popping in and out.
Okay.
One viewer suggested Who was it? Oh, where did the sorry things are getting lost in the feed.
Yeah.
Louise Castle suggested for the signage at the events for fundraising, potentially you could post a sign with just the social media handle, like at Full Moon Jam, or a QR code to whatever the donation account is.
It's just the QR code on your sandwich.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, those are good samples
No, I just
where they
love
just give us
term
links to
sandwich.
the websites, to the Twitter feeds, to all that. Those are good samples. Yeah,
Because if you go to any event, if you go to Riot Fest, if you go to
I just want something that's useful.
any public, they all have, you know, basically the rules, the regulations, no flash photography.
Right.
Hey, how about that? You know, where it says, you know, right on the nice board where everybody
Yeah,
doesn't say.
and then just to be, to be prepared for it, it's like those things, because all of those have links to donation. So, but it doesn't show donation in the face.
Right, right.
So it's like, yeah, let's give them access to information, and then from that information point, blaring right there is one of the big signs. Hey, donate.
Yeah, good call. Good call.
Yeah, that's what we should make a little more prominent on our websites, our Twitter feeds is
I
a
like the
link
idea
to
of the
donate.
QR code.
Yeah.
Simplicity.
We will have a donate specific website with all the different steps.
Yes, but again, it's like all of our affiliated sites should also have a link to the website. It's very prominent, very obvious. You know.
One thing that I want to mention before I forget, we will be within the next couple of months before the first jam, meeting with every single department to discuss and go over exact procedures for each of those departments and go over the protocols so that we can establish basically a legacy plan for everybody. So if all of us die, there's still a way the jam can happen. So.
That's important.
I wonder what funeral flyer.
That'd be hilarious.
That would set me up
Official
on
jam.
draft and just set me up.
You know our funerals are gonna be amazing.
I have a question. Have we ever looked into like Art Fest or like Lincoln Arts Fest to see if we can get a couple performers to like spread the word about the jam like at like the Art Fest or anything like that? Because I know a lot of people come from out of town too just to come to those.
Yeah, it's an idea we've explored. We're kind of working out some concepts behind how that would work, or basically ways to expand into other festivals.
The hardest part is because we light things on fire, and people get really scared very quickly when you say you need a 20 by 20 stage, and we have fire performers.
Yes and no, but I think that we've established with our experience that it's pretty clear that it's perfectly plausible, and that we've been doing it for long enough that we know what we're doing. And so by reaching out to organizations and saying, hey, we might be able to get a couple of organizers, we might get a couple of volunteers, performers, donate to the jam, support it.
On a monthly basis, it seems
Right.
like we're pretty successful with being safe and being
Yeah.
cautious and making sure that everyone's precautions are.
Absolutely.
But
No major
we also
incidents.
operate in a vacuum as well too. For example, I know a lot of individual fire performers, even though how safe they are in Lorca, I'm sure you've encountered it. Bar owners want to have performers, fire performers, venues, music festivals, whatever it might be. But it's, when they realize that there's a little bit more of the je ne sais quoi that you need to go into be a professional at a stage level, a lot of that is then like, oh, you can't do it on the street in a tent with a crowd going past at like an arts festival or a farmer's market or things along those lines.
There's a lot of logistics behind obviously hosting fire performance anywhere. Inspecting the venue, contacting the local fire marshals, making sure that we understand what the municipal codes are for each local city, wherever it might be. And so in the city of Chicago, it's particularly difficult to establish all of that, and it's very expensive. So each individual jam requires $500 insurance and $500 permit at base minimum. And that's not including, all of the other potential expenditures based on the event itself.
So that brings up a question of mine, because you said one of our goals is to increase the number of performances, whether that's Reserve Jam, Full Moon Jam, or other, by a certain amount. And I'm wondering if any of those things are going to be more self-supportive kind of events where it'll be a net positive financially.
I don't think that the jams themselves are ever going to be net positive.
Right,
because
exactly,
they're free.
exactly.
The reserve jams similarly are also kind of our training ground. So unless we can really establish like a facility or a permanent home where we can host those sorts of events or do other things in that space to supplement our income, that's going to be tricky. The workshops, the flow jams, the fundraisers, all of those are kind of meant to be net positive. So one of the things that we were exploring was expanding the LEAF program or the fundraising flow jam program, so that we basically will help to raise money not only for the jam, but also for the venue that's hosting it, as well as perhaps a local restaurant or other local businesses to help kind of formulate a more cohesive community wherever we go. So that's kind of tricky. The jams, the reserve jam, those will never be net positive, but everything else we do, yes, ideally. The Halloween parade, we make a little bit of money off of that. And our insurance and permits are covered for those. So it's kind of like finding the balance of like what festivals are interested in.
Speaking of which, we got to give more love to the police one. What is that one?
National Night Out.
National Night Out. We got to give more love to that because I mean I didn't realize you said $3,000.
What?
No, that's Night Out in the park.
That's Night Out in the
Park.
That's the park program. National Night Out is the police event that we go to basically form a
I thought that one was bringing in a lot more. Okay,
yeah,
never mind.
And show them appreciation for supporting us throughout the years.
That brings in social capital opposed to actual capital.
But Night Out in the Park is the program that sponsors the jams. They have programs, entertainment all across the city.
Okay.
Movies. A lot of times they'll show like Home Alone.
Midnight Circus.
Okay.
Is an amazing
I got 'em
event
mixed
that I
up.
recommend.
I remember years ago, I don't know if she's still involved in doing it or not, but she used to organize people going to her school, I think for old high schoolers like that.
I did one of those jams with Mitchie. Yeah. Basically a small student, kind of like gym class with flow arts essentially.
So that's going back to what Devin brought up earlier about acquiring some props that we can have, and feeding into making it more accessible would be twofold, because we want to build community. We want people who are drawn to this, who see it as something that they could perceptively like have as an outlet or as a form of therapy or meditation, to have access to that, because we all know like props are expensive. If you buy the prop that's the wrong type of prop for your body, then that really sucks. But like there's so many options. How do you decide? So to have that for some of these maybe winter type flow jams for people to try out,
Or to partner with schools.
Something I was speaking with them about tonight is like, and Devin and I spoke about a little bit this weekend, is developing some sort of flow arts as therapy programming. So the hope being that as we continue to grow as a community, that we can also continue to have a positive impact. So when we talk about fundraising, it's beyond the scope of just the jams, but it's also like sustainable community support, offering things to the VA where we can come in and have all of these different props and have a program where they can learn a skill. And if a veteran is drawn to something as an outlet, that could be really positive to them, that we can create an avenue that becomes a reality. So kind of looking beyond just the community that we currently have access to, but how can we continue to positively impact the community that we're all a part of in Chicago?
And if I understand correctly, we're also looking at doing the flow arts to try and get people in, where not everything, even though the end goal is usually fire.
Yeah.
But that have a starting place.
Right.
And maybe some people never want to go fire.
Yeah.
But we can get into schools and it's like much easier to encourage people to learn things if we're just going flow arts.
Yes, well, and like we've talked about putting together, and Val and I have talked about this, like we're both making our own LED props. So how do you make, again, something that is systematically designed to be super expensive, more accessible to people?
And so people who are crafty or who want to learn can do it themselves and then
Create
make
their own
thing.
prop.
There's a huge maker society out there that wants to make.
Join us.
Sorry.
Yes.
Right now?
No, we'll. I'm saying we'll talk.
Make a point right now.
I guess like my thing is, I mean, you all kind of like, I know we're open to Q&A, but like what I'm most interested in is like, what do you all as a community, like what is the feedback you have for us moving into 2020? What are things that you would like to see happen? What are things that you would like to make happen or manifest in the new year?
An official stamp for the entrance gate.
The
On my
stamp for the
hand.
entrance
Already on it.
gate.
Hold on, homie. Got you.
Two things. A, I would love to get involved in designing patches for all the different
Cool.
departments. Cool. Because I already have some.
A little official
I already have
patch.
some
Or a pin.
And
Okay.
two, as Ryan mentioned earlier, the fireball.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you more about that. You two are using those systems.
Yes.
And I want to see
Yeah.
Fireball.
Find a location.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I'm already hunting.
Anything else that you all are like, this is something I really want to raise awareness of, or something I would like to see happen in the new year?
Well, in terms of fire breathers, you already mentioned the Dragon Council, but I think that we need to organize the fire breather performance. I guess you could call it the finale. But also not just organize the fire breathers so that there's a specific safety training and a specific coordination so that everyone knows what they're doing when they go out there, but also an opportunity for finale performers beyond fire breathing. So this could be whips, this could be some coordinated duel with swords, it could be a choreographed kind of dragon
Giant
staff
fire
or
star, like-
something that's a little more special but it requires extra safety attention, so it would be reserved for the end.
As part of the pre-jam signups, we're also going to have, do you have a group choreography? Do you have an unusual prop? And then giving people an opportunity to basically give us more insight on what they're doing and provide a video of what they envision so that we can understand and improve that process.
I like that.
And I think also in unison with that, the finale itself, when all the performers go out, thank the crowd, and kind of that, I think we're gonna kind of redefine that kind of, because we had a pretty cool idea last year where we all went out separately and kind of met, you know, we thanked the people on the way, thanked the drummers, and it all came in, I believe we circled up back to back and did a group bow. So I think a little bit more just like that, hey, this, like, we are together, even though, you know, there's a lot of ninjas and rogues running around, and I think to show that kind of that cohesiveness and professional level will really just bring more attention, more positive aspects to the jam itself.
I have a question. Last year, I think it was the last jam in the drummer circle, they had some big projector screen they set up.
Yeah.
What was that?
So cool. It was a surprise. That was a surprise.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
the rear projector.
that was pretty dope.
But you know, that's kind of what I was mentioning earlier, that there's so many ecosystems that are self-reliant, self-sufficient. Like, somebody kind of just decided that they wanted to do it, and it's kind of become like this awesome.
At least it's that and not another bonfire.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed. I really enjoyed that. But I think as we're growing bigger and as we have more responsibility on us, even though we have this drum circle, because that's what that was part of. That was part of the drum circle. We need to have some more coordination with them. Where if they're going to do something like that, they need to run past us because they're basically forwarding on our insurance, our event. Where if something goes wrong,
Right.
but if something goes wrong, it's on us.
Absolutely. But I think
There's
that
fire circle that set that up. That's
Yes.
and a few other people
it was,
that I know.
yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah, but I think they
brought that-
coordinated.
brought-
I thought they coordinated with the drum.
I don't think
No?
so.
Coordinate that with
Yeah,
the drums.
no, there's a
Okay.
lot of people that just bring random projects
Right.
and arts.
People have their own
I
parties.
mean, we can't always police people. Every single individual bring rad shit to the event.
Right.
But
It's kind of
That's like
for
our-
example, the taco trucks, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and then, like we
Ice
never
cream
we
truck.
never
The
we never
fucking
asked the
ice
taco
cream
trucks to come.
truck.
They kind of dug their heels in
Tell me how you
and said,
Ooh, that hit a
"Why are you
nerve."
gonna stay?" And as organic, it's kind of like if someone got food poisoning from the taco truck, Does it come on to us? Not really.
No. Because again, that's truly separate. But again, like that event, I don't see anything wrong with it. I'm not trying to go there. I'm just trying to think bigger picture of what could happen. Where we need to kind of, at some point, one of us might have to go like, hey, someone's building something over here.
Right. Well, I think
we have to make a judgment call of yes, you can, no, you can't.
Can we add that?
I'd say if a treehouse goes up, then we'll say something. But
Right.
like,
Burning
if,
it higher.
if it's a stretched piece of
Fabric with
essentially
a light.
fabric with a little bit of light.
Oh yeah,
I think,
no,
I think,
I
I
had no
think that's
problem
where like
with
the
that.
flexibility
I
and
was-
decision.
Yeah. I was just looking at the bigger picture of we have these independent ecosystems that are, satellites of us, but we have to make sure that they don't become so big and so adventurous that they can have a negative impact on us or doing something so radically different or something so big that it draws attention away from what we're doing.
Agreed.
Because that event, that event could actually have been so big that it would have drawn away from it. Luckily, it blended in with us, but that was pure luck. It could have actually been so awesome that wow, everyone's watching that instead of watching the fire show.
Yeah. So, specifically regarding food, is there any way we could put in our disclaimer, like on our page or something like that, that we do not provide food, we do not hire the vendors, we do not hire anything like that, that they are no way
They're not associated with the
associated
jam.
with
That's a good point. Really good point.
That's a good point.
that way it puts it solely on them and not on us.
Yes, that's a great idea.
We're not the only people involved with us are us.
I think on your point, I think that the response protocol is definitely what you're kind of underlying is that how do we deal with response? So I think that's again going back to the Guardian program, why we need people out there in the audience being our eyes and ears to tell us what's happening.
Hey, someone's building something over here.
So that because it's really impossible to say or have a response to every single possible scenario.
Correct.
So what we need is just a blanket policy of like, this is what's happening, report it to a lead, escalate as needed.
Correct.
And that way, it's not,
And
it's case by case.
I
And
also
if we-
think supporting the arts community is important.
Right,
Absolutely.
so
I don't
again,
want to shut anything down. It's just it's that balance of we can't. We have to make sure that we don't have something so grand that it's overshadowing.
well,
the
again,
overall
Sometimes
idea.
I think people come and like it's totally cool if they want to come
Yeah.
for the drum circle because that's what's important
Oh,
to
yeah,
them. I think that's everyone comes for a different reason and
Oh
it's all kind
yeah.
of like
No, I was
celebration.
talking about like events like the big LED screen.
so
Yeah.
again, with the
That's
pre-jam
that's
entertainment
what I'm talking
forum,
about. Not
we
why
have,
people show up.
if
Yeah.
we
They
have
show up. They show up.
an avenue for people to basically say, I want to bring this, I want to have this proposal, I have this
Yes.
idea. So if we have, again, the pre-jam entertainment, how do you want to participate, what do you want to bring?
Yes, I like
They
that.
tell us exactly what they want and what their vision is. They show us a video,
Yeah,
they
figure out how to
go through a
incorporate.
step by step, and we say, these are the steps you need to do it. These are the things we need to know, or these check in
Yeah.
with us before you do it. So yeah, I mean, again, we're
That's
not
what I
going to be
like.
able to deal with every single
Oh,
protocol,
yeah, no.
but again, creating a space where the guardians can go up to them and say, hey, what you're doing here is really cool, but let us know.
Yeah.
Go to this forum, give us your
Agreed.
name, give us some,
and with promoting the arts, I really like the idea that we try and incorporate like the pre-jam stuff that isn't jam related, that isn't fire related, that is just performance.
Yep.
And it's like let's
Yeah.
get something creative and something there that is just performance that we're helping provide a venue for something else that then opens up and blends into hey now we're starting fire jam.
I think that's kind of what I do with my whip sometimes. When people are just waiting for us to start, I go out there in the center, just crack the whips because everyone loves that.
Someone else
Just
like
keep it
Yeah, so we want to provide.
No, yeah, there's a dry whip. Just
Oh,
get
yeah,
out
dry.
there before they
Yeah.
So to kind of like gauge interest, something else we've all discussed or we're hoping to do in the new year again in the goal of like expanding the community beyond just impacting on those days is doing volunteer events or doing a specific Leave No Trace Day. So I guess I'm kind of fielding this as like an open-ended, like you don't have to respond now, think about it. If there's organizations that you're like, I think it would be really cool if we as a community volunteered here for an afternoon, let one of us know. I think giving back, kind of feeding back into the Burning Man principles, like giving back, establishing what Leave No Trace looks like, whether that's like having a day before the event where we clean up the parks or after the event or the day after the event. to continue to be a positive force of change in Chicago, I think is important. So think on that. If you have ideas, please let me know.
I mean, just immediately just building off that is like just a random park. Just having a no trace levy. I was like, hey, let's go clean up this park.
Yeah.
You know, and have our name attached to it, our principles attached to it, and just be like, hey, here's a neglected park. Let's go clean it up.
Yeah. Well, because we want to be more present in other parks, not just Foster Beach.
That's actually not a bad idea. Like it's like a park that needs cleaning. Hey, we'll come clean this and do a show for you.
And you do that and be like, hey, then we can do a show.
Yeah.
How about that?
And even if it doesn't have
Then the
fire,
permits
again,
don't cost anything.
Fire
Yeah,
is a whole different
They
type
can
of
dig
animal,
prop,
but we can
blue
do.
prop.
We can
Yeah.
totally do a ton of, we can do a totally cool
And it
thing.
needs.
Like,
Yeah, we can do
Light
we
show,
do a flow.
LED show.
Again, we go clean up and then do a flow back.
Yeah.
You know, a non-fire flow back.
Yep,
So,
that'd be cool.
I know. Well, and you know, being that I'm wearing the orange shirt and doing most of the guardian work, I need to say that we are critically low on guardians, and so we didn't kind of hint on that. I need to just like throw it out. It's like we've had incidents. We've been lucky at these jams. That's like, oh, well, we just managed to bumble our way to safety.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we need ideas on how to get more people to be guardians, do the guardian training. I'll be trying to facilitate more during this season to step up and get more for guardians and how to do that kind of training. But we need ideas on how to make it attractive, incentives for people who want to do it, because they're not necessarily fire performers or, you know, fire performers to be guardians temporarily and put on the orange shirt and walk around. It's pretty challenging, so I think the biggest question to ask is we need ideas on how to increase guardians.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree.
Free hugs.
Yeah.
Free hugs.
Jason especially, Jason and I lucked out a number of times, you know, trying to deal with crowd stuff, you know, possible theft, things like that.
So to touch on that, getting guardians, incentivizing guardians, and having a little like warm up or like maybe like a non-fire thing while like everybody's getting up and everybody's getting ready. I mean, we can, and then covering the person with the light show, maybe not market, but like mention online that, hey, well, you know, if you're an artist in the area and you'd like to present some of your art, or you'd like to go ahead and you need a platform to go ahead and reach some people, then we have an opportunity for you to reach these people. All we're asking in return is that you take this guardianship responsibility for the night that you're performing, or the day that you're out there.
Speaking of that, who was that kid that volunteered?
100% dedicated to like, you have to have, that's something that you need a constant commitment.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to like be good at like dealing with the same kind of people every time, and like just working as someone who works at a bar. Dealing with people in crowds is very unpredictable, and you have to want to do it, and you can't just be a random artist that has to talk to the crowd.
I mean, on the other side of that though.
You need to have very dedicated people. I mean, that's a great
And the person might
incentive,
not have the
but
personality for it.
you have to have people who are dedicated to being a protector of the jam, protector of things, to be like, hey, I can say no to these people, and not someone who's like, it's like, I know waitresses that I've worked with in the past, or bartenders that are not assertive to say no to people.
Just
You
a
know,
just a counterpoint to
or
that.
not have the right
There
people
was
skills
someone.
to tell people no and be able to diffuse the situation. You know, all they have to do is be able to say like, no, you can't do this, or just be really mean about it and say no, and that doesn't work sometimes.
There was who was the kid this year that came and volunteered one night as a guardian? He said he was part of some volunteer program, and he's like, I'm just here to
I
volunteer.
remember the kid. I don't remember what program he was with.
Like,
he was helpful because he helped. He was eyes for me.
Yeah. See, that was a helpful
you know,
kind of
eyes
like
for crowds.
input, and like whatever avenue he found, Full Moon Jam. If we could increase that, that would help out the guardians a lot. I think.
Yeah,
Is there any like high school programs that like do the community service time?
No, we don't want high school.
Sorry.
Yeah, that goes back to her point.
Lorca?
Yeah, like I think I just wanted to mirror what I think you already said beautifully is like, I think that like as important as guardianship is, it is definitely not a job for everybody. It is not a job for me. Like I cannot do crowds.
Yeah.
And like I think that it's as important as it is to like have people say, well, you're gonna need people to step up and do this, it's equally as important to say like, not every job is for everybody.
Right, the right
and
people
it's
need to
not,
step up.
it's even more, it's like you're gonna it's gonna be even worse if you get a lot of people that are just in a position where they're not really able to do what's required of them. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of throw that in.
Yeah.
On,
Thank you.
I'm sorry, there's a lot of hands raised.
Well, my question is, in terms of incentivizing and like wanting to maybe entice, because I think that as performers, people that don't have a lot of avenues to do fire, it's hard to like sacrifice an opportunity to do that to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
So would it potentially be beneficial as a community for us to like, if someone's interested in guardianship and goes to the training and we think that it's something they care about, to go, cool, if you're a guardian for this jam, then next jam, if you come kind of the way we have you jump the line as a volunteer, then if you've guardianed a jam the time prior or at some point in the season, I don't know what logistically it would look like, but essentially it would give you like a jump to the front of the queue the next jam consistently.
Like a fast pass.
Like a fast pass.
That's a good incentive, I think.
Because
you're sacrificing one jam.
You're sacrificing one jam to protect the community,
That
but you get to.
That's a good incentive. I think that's a good incentive.
So we've been kind of diving back into history a little bit.
Yeah.
So for a long time we had Rangers.
Yeah.
When Rangers were thin, there have been times, and I think we can kind of tie this in with what we just discussed. There have been times where we've had people, you know how since we have people's safety after the spin once, safety once, and if you can,
Right.
Take a lap.
Take a lap.
you know, it's more.
That is kind of, unfortunately, like what we might be forced to do if we can't expand the Guardian.
That's what I do.
Which is why we want all the volunteers and all the organizers to have the Guardian program, so if that's necessary, we have people that are trained to be able to.
But I hear what Lorca is saying, that not everyone is going to feel comfortable doing that.
Nor should everybody do that.
Nor should it be required, because I think
But,
it does take a certain
I mean, it's not going to be
ability
mandatory, like
balance.
you have to
Yeah.
go out there and do it, but it's the jam needs
It
this
would
to
be
happen
appreciated.
in
Needs a
order
list
to
of people
function.
that can do it.
Because it's
So
a
yeah,
vital
so-
function, just like the fuel depot, just like
For
the
sure.
gate. It needs to happen in order for us to be successful.
So I do think there could be a
So-
benefit in like this jam, these are the dedicated guardians for the jam.
Yes.
And then if you sign up at the beginning of the season or any point in the season to be a guardian, then that gives you the fact like an extra whatever to guard.
Alright,
There
so,
might-
so with some of these things, I think one thing that we're not reaching out to, Devin has kind of touched on it a little bit and mentioned a little bit. We need to reach out to non-performers that are interested in helping.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what
You know, well, we need, like I myself, I'm not a performer. I have no interest in it, but here I am trying to do, how about do anything I can. So we want to be able to reach out to people that are non-performer types, that are interested in the community, that want to be part of the community. This is ideal. The only thing that I see is a possible caveat, not that we shouldn't do it, but some of the incentives of, it kind of ties into the board is that I want to be careful about that. I want to be careful about the idea of getting people that are not suited for rangering just so they get the perks. And then I have a bunch of people out there that are not suited for rangering.
Right.
We're not
Well, I mean that's why I think
Yeah, so
going
yeah, it's that
through
close line.
going through the guardian program.
Everyone's
Yeah.
gonna have to pay their dues and earn their way, essentially.
Well, again,
Show
agreed.
you want to be there. Show
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Like,
Yeah.
there's
Gotta
not
get it.
Johnny off the street need not apply. You know,
Right.
It's always been
It's all
that
about
way.
dedication, showing up,
Yeah.
showing your.
But I think you
Well, that
can't
is
have
also, it's also skill based. There's people
you
that
can't
aren't
have
suited
your
for
cake
rangering.
and eat it too. So here, what I'm hearing is you need more guardians and you want there to be more incentive.
Right.
But you also feel like it has to be you want them to want to be there. So you
There's
can't
only so
have
many
it both.
gyms
There's
out
only
there.
so many
There's
opportunities.
two
So
types. I'm supposed to be out there 2 people. I'm going out there alone,
Yeah.
right? So the second person, I just need a body.
yeah. So what I'm
So we understand
saying,
that.
what I'm saying is, I
don't
think
care who they
we
are.
need. There's a lot of value in putting faith in community.
Right.
So I think if you pitch it as, these are the skills we're looking for,
There you go.
these are the personality types you want, we would love to reward you. And if someone does this and they prove to not actually be skilled at it, cool. They gave it a shot. They aren't suited to it. Then they can't do it again.
Right.
But I think we need. It sounds like we really need there to be more people doing it. So I think creating avenues to make it more appealing are important.
Agreed. And I think
And-
actually what you just said, it actually settles my concern.
Yeah.
Which is we let them know that we're looking for this skill set. We're looking
Yeah, I
for people that are doing this. And it's not so much that I think we're looking for people that are encouraging and want to be doing it. I'm just looking for people that are confident doing it, because when you're rangering, even though we have very few situations that are dangerous or risk taking, I've been in some situations where luckily I'm a big confident person. I was able to handle them and be able to de-escalate
Yeah.
without anything like that, but because I have the skill set and I'm big, imposing, things like that. So it's like I want to make sure that I'm not putting someone in a possibly bad situation that can escalate.
A couple of quick things, because no. I'm gonna get to. I want to say that we're basically running out of time, so I want this to be the last question. On that note, we want to basically put monthly callouts for all the jam needs. We want to put more on the social media about our jam policies and expectations, and create more awareness of our civic, our code of conducts, our philosophies. So having a more structured media presence is, I think, going to supplement and create those avenues. Additionally, something to consider is establishing perhaps some sort of vetting or interview process to really figure out, because we're becoming so large, because we have obviously a very open sense of inclusion, but there are individuals who make questionable choices, who might have pasts that might lean us towards not allowing them to volunteer or participate. So we want to kind of establish protocol for who we allow, and what we're looking for, and the criteria for meeting those positions, and basically being allowed to participate without concern of putting others at risk.
In the same way that the Rangers are. I mean, it's a volunteer position, so people know it's expected of them. So in general, you get people that sometimes you do people that aren't suited, but they won't volunteer again. So
I think that the more people get involved in different departments, the less it will feel as though they're only something. Sometimes I feel like it's guilty, but people are like, I don't know how to do it. I'm like, you can learn to do it.
Yeah.
The more people try it out, maybe they find out that they're like, I hate it and I hate talking to people, I don't need it. Or maybe they find out like I'm actually connecting, but they're not going to know until they try. And I think getting more people to touch different kinds of departments will mean that they find the places they want to hang out.
Agreed. And then just the kind of final offshoot, but not the same thing. I still want to kind of push maybe the non-performer aspect, because there's people out there with respect to inclusion and communities, and we should be trying to reach out to more than just performers. Performers we're going to draw performers. We should also find people that want to be involved, but aren't performers. That just want to be involved.
I just mentioned to Devin, maybe part as the guardian process. The first time anybody that just wants to get in, they will actually get an opportunity to either follow Bentley or someone else to each one of the jobs.
That's a very easy thing that we can just add in. How do you want to volunteer? The first question is, I have no idea.
Here's how.
You can be a shadow.
It's like speed volunteering,
Yeah.
essentially.
You can be an extra pair of
But I
hands.
think the speed volunteering is a good point. Like
I like
people
that.
are like, we only need you for 15 minutes. They're like, cool, right?
Cool.
Yeah. No, I like that.
Alright, so last question for the day.
So you guys know,
Unless there's any other major pressing questions that you guys have been sitting on for a while.
no, because I was saying, I bet you there's qualified people that would love to, just don't know that we need it.
Right.
Yeah.
Transparency,
Right.
creating the forms.
Schools have to be starting to be more proactive about letting people know. And I know I've gotten a couple people, like a girl, she took fire safety training this year. She's wanting to get involved in this, and she went to Burning Man. She wear fire safe clothes for the day she trained, so she did the door that day, which was awesome. And I was like, I'm so glad you're here doing this. She's like, it's so awesome. I don't even know what prop I want to do. This is great to be involved.
I think
It's totally
that's
great.
like, I guess the
It's
thing
totally
I
great.
want
She's the girl in the service.
everyone to take away from this is like, thank everyone that's involved. because everyone who's doing a volunteer position is helping support us and protect the jam, and you have someone like that who is just giving their time. So I think always leading with kindness and love and thanking people is important.
Yeah, and then I again, just to mention, I think that a lot of people, because we're a performance-based entity, I think there's people that are out there that want to help, but think that they have to be somehow performance or artistically inclined.
Yeah.
And
Which is why I
there's
made
so
it
many
exact.
functions, there's so many functions that don't need any.
Look at Milan.
Yeah.
I mean, he's never picked up a single prop as long as I've seen him, but he comes out every same Jason's up until about
Last year.
this year, you know.
Well, I mean, normally I'm outside, but I did the performance so I could see what you guys see. And I need you guys to go vice versa now, so but,
Yeah. Cool. Thank you
All right,
guys.
thank you all for coming.
Love you. Thank you guys.
Thank you all for being here.
Meeting adjourned.
And-